Good morning.
Je suis là. That's French. That's French for I am là.
Is that a music note? La, 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 la.
Yes,
So-
we are back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got an interesting show, I think, because we're going to talk about, when I was growing up, people talk about comfort food. They talk about macaroni and cheese.
So is that what we're gonna talk about?
No.
Like when you grew up and
No, because I've never really grown. Neither of us have ever really grown up, so there's not much to say. But people talk about comfort food when they were kids, like mashed potatoes and all that stuff. And for me, it was always a grilled cheese sandwich. My mom made great ones, and grilled cheese sandwich with a little bowl of soup was just a wonderful, wonderful, comforting thing on a cold day if I was homesick or just, hanging out. But when I got older and wiser and more worldly, which did happen, by the way.
When was that?
It was a long time ago. Yeah. But I discovered the ultimate grilled cheese sandwich, which is a croque monsieur. Or its other version, which I think we're going to do today, is the croque madame.
Croque madame.
Croque madame. Croque monsieur is a classic snack, if you will. That's you get in cafes and brasseries in France and little cafes and bars even. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It comes from the verb croquer, which means to bite or to crunch. And monsieur comes from the French for monsieur. They really have no word for that.
What's the French word for monsieur?
So anyway, it's a great. It first appeared on menus as far back as 1910.
Yeah.
And you know what? The first time it appeared in literature was in Proust's book in 1918.
Who knew?
À la recherche du temps perdu.
Ah, La recherche du temps perdu, Proust.
Yeah.
Marcel Proust.
And so anyway, it's a very simple thing, and yet it's often misinterpreted. A lot of times people in this country especially just basically do it as a grilled cheese sandwich, and they don't get
that's why that
it can be elevated.
I was trying to understand why are you talking about the grilled cheese sandwich, and I'm like, oh wait.
It's just the way my mind works. It's kind of scary, I know. So it's a wonderful thing, and we are going to demonstrate it today. And by we, I mean Chef Olive. Since I can't reach as far as his counter, he's going to have to do this all by himself. But look at, he's got all his tools ready. He's got eggs. Now, the difference between a croque madame and a croque monsieur is that a croque madame has a fried egg added to it. And a lot of people thought that the fried egg sitting on top of the sandwich looked like a woman's hat of the time.
Oh, really?
And so that's how they nicknamed. I don't really know why it was called a croque monsieur. I haven't been able to find that out. I guess just because it was just a silly name, I guess. But with madame attached, it means that it's got a fried egg on it. And there are variations of this sandwich. The one you're going to do today is, are you going to do it in the oven or are you going to do it on the grill?
Except for French.
Remember when President Bush said the problem with the French is they just don't have a word for entrepreneur?
Right. That's funny.
One of the many things we love about him, and we miss him now.
Who would even know?
Who would have thought?
James, as you're talking, I'm going to start doing stuff. And the first thing I want to do, and this is something we've shown before, but I really want to show how to basically cook the eggs really easy. Remember the easy part? So I'm going to start with that. And basically the way I do my eggs, I'm going to go in the oven. So you asking me the oven? Yes, I do it in the oven. I'm going to do some work on the pan and some work in the oven.
And you do, I can see that you do take the eggs out of the shell first.
You know, I come to do that every time now. Every time I want to do an egg thing, I'm going to remove the shells around it.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Okay, so
I'm gonna put you in small. Are you not too small? Are you okay in small?
I've got a big ego. I'm fine.
And I'm gonna move to that. And I'm gonna show you really quickly, guys. This is okay. How to do eggs? Mega easy. Mega easy. Ready? Medium heat.
So
olive oil right away. A big tablespoon. Okay, right away. Don't even wait. Now get that oil for 15 seconds. 15 seconds only. Boom. Ready?
Nice.
Straight off. Go in the oven. That's all. That's all I need to do. Pretty cool, huh?
Oh, yeah.
No work. I don't like to work like this.
Now that's the mistake that I used to make frying eggs, is get the pan very hot, put in the butter, then let the butter get hot, and then put in the eggs, and they just cook like immediately.
Right.
Now, why don't you do it that way? Why is it important to cook the eggs so gently like that?
I am actually working more efficiently. My eggs are done. I don't have to worry about it. See, it's one less work I have to do on my stove. That's why I'm trying to do it easy. I like to cook quick, easy, done, fast. Meal is done in 5-10 minutes.
Nice.
Boom. It's always good. I just have a lot of tricks so I can go faster. For example, now I can start my bechamel really quickly.
So let me just say there are basically 5 ingredients in a croque madame. There's the bread.
So James, I'm going to let you, you're going to keep talking. I'm just going to start my bechamel, you guys.
Okay.
The bechamel is pretty easy. I'm just going to do it. It's pretty easy. If you don't know how to do it, you can go online. I'm going to do it in front of you. It's just butter, flour, and milk. It's really not a big deal. So yeah, go ahead, chef.
Well, of the ingredients that go in a croque madame, there's the bread, of course, which is very important. A lot of times they would use either a pain de mie or a good levain, something. You just want to use a good bread. Don't use crappy bread.
Don't talk about pain de mie.
Okay. Why?
Because we are in pandemic.
Oh.
Oh, you mean pandemic.
Pandemie.
Half bread. Got it.
Yeah. So, but you want to use good bread. You can use
levain.
You just don't ever use crappy bread. Life is too short. Oh, is that the Acme levain?
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. You know, life is too short. So also there's cheese, there's ham, the egg, of course, and bechamel, which is what Olive is doing right now, which is one of the mother sauces that they're called in French cooking. And bechamel is simply milk that's stirred into a butter and flour roux.
Yeah.
And it's very quick and easy to make. Even I could do it.
True.
Although it's much easier, I find that the easiest way to make bechamel is to let Olive make it. It's almost effortless on my part.
So quickly, look how fast it goes. It's
really,
really quick. I mean, so it's really, really easy and quick. My bechamel is literally done in like 2 minutes. So my eggs are cooking. See, my eggs are cooking. I don't have to even worry about it. They're gonna take 5 minutes. My bechamel is cooking in literally 2 minutes. So you see how fast I cook? Now look at how thick it's getting, right? I can stop whenever I want, which is basically...
You want to make it a little thicker for this, right?
Yep. But it's going to thicken by itself, so I'm not I'm going to stop, okay?
All right.
All right, shut it off. It's off. Okay? And I'm going to let it sit here. And look, bechamel done.
Nice. I'm going to talk a little bit about bechamel.
Go ahead.
It's one of the, as I said, it's one of the in the 19th century, Carême sort of codified these sauces. Carême.
And then James, I'm sorry, I'm putting the nutmeg. That's all. That's on big. So if people are wondering.
So he categorized these sauces into 4 basic categories. The Espagnole sauce, which is a brown stock-based sauce. These are the mother sauces. These are the sauces from which you can create just all kinds of other sauces. The velouté, is that how you say it? Velouté?
Velouté, yes.
That's a white stock-based sauce. Then you've got the bechamel, which is a milk-based sauce, and the allemande, which is an egg-enriched velouté, basically. And there's a 5th group, which you could say the hollandaise and mayonnaise are sort of a group of its own. And then from these sauces, you can create all kinds of other things by, say, adding cheese or cream or garlic or herbs or all kinds of things, shallots, spices. So that's it. And this is one of those sauces. It was named for its inventor, as so many foods are.
So look at my
look at those eggs. Those are beautiful. It's just like it's like you've done it before.
But you see how easy that was, though, Chef. So
and
you see, I don't have to worry about the eggs in the pan. The eggs in the pan are difficult to do. They're always hard to do. Now, if you put them in the oven, you don't have to work. Done, and they come out absolutely perfect. You see, absolutely perfect.
Very nice.
I can cut them up, and I have 3 now. All right.
And I see you got a little of the olive oil to get on top. And it does look like ladies' hats. 3 little ladies' hats to go on top of you.
I use good olive oil. And because I cook on very low heat, it was at 350 in the oven, that oil is beautiful. And you see I'm frying the top. And I can eat that. I don't have to worry about damaged fat, which is really important. All right? Cool.
So... Oh, and by the way, the bechamel was named for Louis de Bechamel, who was the steward to King Louis XIV. Isn't that interesting? I think it's interesting. But then,
Bechamel? Right.
Louis de Bechamel.
Le Comte de Bechamel.
Was he a comte?
Yep.
So, after that, what's in this?
Now I have my beautiful... Acme bread, which I'm going to actually toast quickly. So you can toast it in butter in the pan or toast it in the oven, which I'm going to do now. It's going to be because I want to prepare my cheese. So now to work. So they're both good idea, except I don't want to work all on my stove. I want to do things in the oven so I don't have to worry about this. You understand the concept, right? All right, so I'm going to put those in there in my oven.
Very nice. So I'm going to talk about some of the other ingredients in a classic croque monsieur, and that is cheese. And there's choices when it comes to the cheese. The classic choices would be either Emmental, which is the classic Swiss cheese, the big cheese with the holes in it, or the one you're using right now, which is is in the Gruyere family, and this is Comté, which is sometimes called Gruyere de Comté.
Oh yeah,
it's a mountain cheese. It's one of the great cheeses of the world. It's got fabulous flavor.
All right,
it's been around for about 8 centuries.
2 things you want to know, people, is this just came out, so it's brand new, of course. Sometimes you're going to see some stuff on it, So it's not a big deal. Remember, we talked about it, that the cheese is bad, and yes, it's bad. So it's bad milk, and we want that. So now the thing is this: sometimes you're going to see some blue stuff. Just shave it. It's not bad.
Right.
It's the same mold as any cheese has. So don't worry about it. Just shave that. There's 2 types of foam you're going to see. You're going to see some white foam, which is a penicillium. And you can also see the white foam. There's also a white powder on the cheese a lot of time when they get older. This is your calcium lactate. That's what it is. Okay, so there's nothing bad when things start to look funky. If you don't like it, just remove some. Just really shave it up and don't worry about it. Okay? So I'm going to prepare some of that. Chef, keep going with your cheese.
Yeah, so basically, if you want milk that's just untouched and pure, then you should just get milk. because if you get cheese, it's milk gone bad. But it's as we say, as my friend Steve Jenkins used to say, it's controlled spoilage. You purposely want the milk to spoil. You want it to curdle. That's how the curds and whey separate, and that's how you make cheese. Comté has been made for like 8 centuries. It's an ancient cheese. Not this particular one, probably. That one's probably only about 12 or 18 months old. But the concept of the cheese has been around for a very long time. They're all made in small village-based co-ops, which is interesting. Because it's a big cheese, because it takes a lot of milk to make one wheel of cheese, it takes 530 liters of milk to make a wheel of Comté.
Okay.
So this is not something that individual farmers do. They pool their milk, and then it's made in a cooperative by a master cheesemaker. And they only collect milk from about an 8-mile radius, so they can get it very, very fresh, get it to the co-op, and it immediately is made into cheese. And a lot of these farmers have like 2 or 3 cows, mind you. So that's another reason why they can't make their own cheese, because they simply wouldn't have enough milk. So in the co-op, he can pool all this milk together, and he can make several wheels of cheese. They don't make very many wheels a day. In the case of Emmental, which is also made in these same kind of co-ops, and it takes 1,000 liters of milk to make a wheel of cheese. They make 1 wheel a day. A master cheesemaker will make 1 wheel of Emmentaler a day.
Wow. Okay.
Comté probably more, but maybe not more than 2 to 4 wheels a day by any one cheesemaker, because you're talking about an enormous quantity of milk.
How much milk for the wheel?
530 liters. That's 140 gallons of milk to make 1 wheel of cheese. Yeah. Man. Yeah. So it's a great use for the milk. It's right. And all of these cheeses are made from very, very specific breeds of cattle, and everything is stipulated: how the animals eat, what they eat, where they eat, how they exercise, everything. So these cheeses are some of the greatest foods on earth, because it's all organic. It's all made in methods that have been around for centuries. Emmentaler was first made in the 13th century. I wish I could show you on a map where the Comté comes from. It comes from the Massif du Jura in the Franche-Comté region. Let me see if I can pull up a map here in my high-tech world.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's well, here's a picture.
So I'm going to take a piece. I'm just going to slice or grate, whatever you want, right?
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'll grate it.
Here's a picture of the Franche-Comté region of France. So you can see it lies right next to Switzerland. This is a type of Gruyere. Gruyere is kind of a family of cheese, and it's made throughout the French part of Switzerland and also that area of France. And they argue about who invented it and who makes the best ones. I mean, I think you could argue that Comté is one of the great cheeses of the world. It's a unbelievably flavorful cheese. Juliette Harbet, who's an old friend of mine, English woman who writes about cheese, she described the flavor and the different fruitiers, these little fruitiers are what they call these cooperatives that make the cheese. They vary in flavor because depending on where they are, there's a different type of soil, there's different herbs that the cows are eating, there's a different climate. I mean, it's subtle differences. But here's how she describes the flavor from one fruitier to the next. It can go from melted butter, milk chocolate, hazelnuts, and fudge to aromas of toast, plum jam, leather, pepper, and dark chocolate. I mean, that's a lot of flavor, and it does have those flavors. It's amazing. It's just rich and deep.
Exactly. Because what the flavors come from the fats. The animal, whatever they eat, that's going to go in your fat, right?
Yep.
So this is what the flavors are going to be, exactly. Okay.
And all those cows still go up into the mountains in the summertime, and they graze in the mountain pastures all summer. And then in the winter, in the fall, the cows are led back down into the valley where they spend the winter, and they only eat hay that's cut from the summer pastures. So
yeah,
it's really, pristine diet that these cows are on. And all summer they just eat all these mountain herbs and fresh grass, and it's all fed by glacier springs. It's amazing stuff.
Also, what you can't forget is the colder the grass is, the more omega-3 is in the grass. So more omega-3 is in the cheese. All right, let's finish those guys. So here I have my bread that's toasted already very quickly. Parchment paper. I have my cheese. I have my bechamel. And I'm ready to go. I have some good ham here. Okay.
Is that Applewood Farm?
Yeah.
Oh, Applegate Farm, right. They're a really great outfit that everything they raise is humanely raised. The meat is all very, very detailed in right. how it's raised and fed and produced. It's pretty good stuff.
So now I'm going to put the cheese. So chef, I know there's many ways of doing croque monsieur, madame, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is I'm going to put some bechamel in with some cheese and the ham. And a lot of French people put butter. I'm not going to add butter because I think that's we're good enough on the fat. That's great, okay?
Yeah.
But you can put butter, fry them in butter. But I'm just going to put some bechamel, which is right here, okay?
You can see how that's thickened up even since it came off the fire.
Really easy to do. Then all I need is a little ham. It's pretty cool, huh? So you're right, it's a ham and cheese sandwich. When you were talking about cheese, I was like, what the? Why is it doesn't look?
But it's an American grilled cheese sandwich raised to greater heights. It's so much better. And you want to use thinly sliced ham.
Yeah.
And in a typical cafe in France, there would not be a ton of ham on the sandwich.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's very flavorful. It's there to give flavor and a little texture. And of course, I eat half of it while I'm assembling the sandwiches, but that's just me.
Right. Right,
the other thing I love about working with a cheese like Comté or Emmental or any kind of Gruyere is that while I'm cooking, it's also a really great cheese just to snack on. So I always cut a piece off for myself.
Exactly. So now, when we have those, you guys, can you see that?
Yep.
Let me show you another view. You can see those guys.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put more bechamel on the top. Oh.
Yes,
oh
you
God.
are. Yes, you are.
Oh, Jesus.
You're going to put more cheese on top, too?
Oh, my God. How did you know? I mean, seriously. Seriously.
Oh, that is some sublime goodness there. Now, this is true comfort food. This is what comfort food is all about.
All right, that's going to go in your oven now. All right, guys. That's going to go in your oven. And I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. And then the fried eggs goes on top, and then we serve.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going into my oven.
Don't go into the oven. It's too hot. Just put the sandwiches in there.
Okay, so I'm going to try that, okay? I'm going to start with the sandwiches. If everything goes well. And you see my eggs now, I can cut them really well, and there's no dark stuff. So again, I didn't burn any of that, which is really cool. I'm just going to separate those and put it on it. Wow.
Now, this makes a meal. I mean, you put a little salad with this. You make a little green leafy salad. Serve this with a glass of wine or a glass of beer. Late to the party. Switzerland? I don't know. Switzerland's been making cheese for a long time. I think because those boundaries were probably very blurred at one time, I think Switzerland and France probably developed these traditions simultaneously. I don't think that any one was first in doing these cheeses, because Gruyere grew up in that area throughout those mountains. I mean, we're talking about the base of the Alps and up into the Alps. This is where the cheeses are made, and you know, who knows who did it first? It's been going on for 8 or 9 centuries, so it's very unlikely that anyone knows who exactly first made these cheeses. They were traditional cheeses of the area. The cows sort of evolved in that area, so that's why the cows are stipulated today that they have to be those breeds of cows, because those are the cows that have always been there, and they've adapted to the environment. They've adapted to being able to climb up into the mountains and back in the summer and the fall.
Now, do you have what type of cow though? Because I know you. I want to talk about the different type of milk that cows have. So I don't know if you have something already, but I want to talk about this also.
Well, the cows used for Comté are the Montbéliard cows, and I'm probably butchering that word. Okay. And they're a big brown and white cow that produce a lot of milk and a lot of really rich fat in their milk, and especially from being up in the mountains all summer. What I described about the cows, that's how the dairy industry works in Switzerland. The farms are all small because of the geography. People don't have giant herds of dairy cattle. They have 5, 10, 15 cows at most. Yeah. And all the milk is pooled. The family might keep some for their own use, but basically it's all pooled and sent to the co-op to make cheese.
So there's 2 types of milk. I want to point out, Chef. I don't know, James. I don't know if you're aware, but there's the milk.
There's regular milk and chocolate milk, right? Are those the
2? Oh my God! And then there is soy milk, and then there is almond milk. Oh no, that's not made by cows, right?
Chocolate milk comes from the brown cows.
They come from. So for the milk, there's 2 types of milk. There's the A1 casein milk and the A2. So basically, what they are is A1 is what most of the American cows produce here. It's an inflammatory casein. The A2 is you start to see that in the market. I've already talked about this, but I want to talk that again. The A2 casein, you can see sometimes it says A2. This is a non-inflammatory casein. It's what goat produce. So goat milk is the same. It's an A2 casein type. It's much less reactive. You don't react as much. So not allergen. So people have allergy to casein or problem, they can always switch to that, and it usually disappears.
So is this a naturally occurring thing, depending on the cows and where they eat and how they eat?
Yeah, so the Jerseys have this A2, and I forgot the name in French, but there's only a few cows, but they are brown. Mm-hmm. And they produce in A2 casein. And you know who does that in the area is Alexander Valley. You know that milk?
Yeah.
Have you seen the milk? Have you seen the fat of that milk?
No.
6%.
Wow.
Good milk. A2 casein, beautiful stuff, non-allergen. 6% fat, absolutely fantastic. Lots of fat, beautiful stuff. So yeah. Normally, a milk is about 3.8%. Okay. So when you buy milk, buy milk. You know, don't buy low fat or non-fat, because 3.8% is not much compared to 2%, for example. You see what I mean? So you're buying processed food for 1.5%. It's not a big. It's not
right.
I'm gonna check my.
And people were really sold a bill of goods years ago about milk and fat, and I mean we've talked a lot about this, but it's really just this brainwashing that's gone on about being afraid of fat and thinking that you're healthier if you're drinking skim milk. You'd be healthier yet if you just didn't drink milk at all.
Yes.
You should always eat your milk. Eat good cheese, especially aged cheeses.
So I'm going to put my croque monsieur. So the croque monsieur d'abord, and then we're going to make them croque madame, right? Just put the broiler on for like 1 minute. I'm going to go and pick them up. And then we're going to put the egg, and that's it. And I'm going to reserve one for you for later.
Great. I'll be there. So it's really interesting what's happened in the American dairy industry, and I say industry because it really is an industry. I mean, we're talking about dairy farms with hundreds, if not thousands, of cattle, and they've really they don't allow the cows to eat the way cows were designed to eat, and they feed them all kinds of supplements. And then, of course, there's the whole thing with antibiotics and growth hormones and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they've really done themselves a disservice, because now people are starting to realize that this is not good food. And but the way they make these cheeses in Europe, these mountain cheeses, and that's not to say that there's not an industry in France as well, because there is. There's a lot of high production dairies in France that produce things like all those sort of tasteless camemberts that you see on the market and all that stuff. But these old traditional cheeses especially from mountain regions and very, very remote regions, where they're still farming, and they're still making the cheese in the same way that they've done for centuries. This results in much better food. It's why these cheeses taste so good. I mean, you take a piece of Comté cheese or Emmental or a Swiss Gruyere, that's especially one of those cave-aged Swiss Gruyères, and then taste it next to the block of cheddar that you get from the supermarket. That's colored orange. It's not even orange naturally. They color it orange. It's mind-boggling, the difference in the flavor, and yet people continue to buy those cheeses because they're a lot less expensive, of course.
But they're not cheese. So just keep that in mind. They're not really cheese. They are just kind of a weird stuff.
Right.
So I'm still waiting, chef. I'm sorry. I don't want to burn them, so I'm kind of keeping an eye over there on my oven.
That's okay.
Guys, I put my oven over there. I have my stove here. The reason why I have a stove here and I cook on the stove is when I do all my cooking classes, I want to cook on a stove here, so you don't think I have this super of wolf, which I do, and I cook. I do amazing dishes because of my stoves.
It's okay. Whenever you go off camera, then people look at me. So when you're there, you just draw the focus. We should answer Kenny's question there. Where can I get quality milk in bulk? I think you'd have to go to the dairy. I think you'd find. Find a dairy farm in the area that's close by and talk to them.
It's really difficult to find milk, Jim.
I think most of them would be reluctant to sell it to you because...
Listen. It's really hard to find milk, Kenny. The thing with milk is there's not enough milk. I don't know. I know people have been throwing the milk, but good quality milk, that's what people want. There's not enough of it.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a little bit difficult, because I was talking to someone from my Croque's Monsieurs is done.
Hey, we can hear you even when we can't see you. I can't even see your lips move.
Let's do it to microphone.
Yeah, and these small artisanal dairies that really do it right, they all have contractual obligations with their suppliers. So most of their milk goes directly to cheese makers, or in many cases they make the cheese themselves. So it's hard. It's hard. You'd have to go and talk to enough of them, and maybe get somebody to sell you a small quantity of milk. I mean, I'm assuming you're not going to make a lot of cheese.
Yeah, milk is expensive. There's not much you can do.
The other thing you could do, Kenny, is to buy a cow. And
we'll share. We can share.
Yeah.
We'll use the tail.
We'll keep it at your house.
We'll use the tail.
They make lovely pets, you know. They're very sweet, gentle animals. Not terribly bright, but then, you know, you're not training it to do tricks. You just want it to produce milk. And it does take a little bit of space, though. So I don't know how big your yard is, but you might want to think about investing in a cow. And voila, it's a croque madame. The one on the right is a croque monsieur. The one on the left is a croque madame. Very nice.
I'm going to put that both on a...
Now, like I said, that's a meal. That's a meal. You could put dress some little bit of herbs or salad greens or some sprouts or something with that, and maybe some radishes. And I would drink a glass of white wine with that.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna take a picture of these guys, right? Pretty they are.
Very nice.
All right, let's take a picture. What do you think, chef?
Yeah, I think you should.
Ooh, croque madame. Nice. Whoa.
The other great thing about these is kids would love them. So if you're trying to think of new treats for your kids because they're home all day,
Yeah, this is really amazing.
That's a great kid-friendly meal.
This is really fun.
I would eat one of those any day of the week.
What about Tuesdays?
Well, I don't know about Tuesdays.
So good. My croque madame is done, and it took not too long, right?
No.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I don't think it would get along with my cat. Put the cat on top of the cow, and the cow won't even know it's there. So, or he's probably saying the cat wouldn't get along with the cow because the cow's not going to pay any attention to the cat.
Usually the cat gets pretty along with.
But look at his cat. His cat looks pretty ferocious, so that could do damage on the cow.
Nice.
Did you?
I'm just shaving the black stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's all.
Very nice.
Great. Wow. That's what we eat in Paris. We eat a lot of those. So normally they do it in pan mi, the bread, but I don't like this.
I like the levain better. It's just heartier. It's got more texture.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Or goat. Yeah, you could get a goat. Kenny, why don't you get a goat? Because you could have 2 or 3 of them, and they make good they make good pets, good playmates for the kids, and the cat would probably like them.
Oh my God, that's cool. Fun.
The question is, does Kenny know how to milk a goat?
Yeah. Just you have to make sure Kenny understand that you have to milk the female.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to buy a bunch of male goats, billy goats.
I mean, you can, but don't try to squeeze that thing.
They get big horns and they like to ram you. So, croque monsieur, croque madame, good food. I want to talk some more about the cheese situation because it's important. We've talked a lot about supporting your local cheesemakers. We have an astounding variety of cheeses made within 100 miles of here.
I should send that to Cowgirls.
Yeah,
we need to do something with them. Remember, we're going to do some recipes. We never did it. So I never did it.
Well, they do a version of a croque monsieur at their ferry building outlet. Now, I don't know if they're doing it right now. I don't even know if they're open, but I think. My grandparents in Tennessee had animals on a lot of land for a garden.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Great, man.
Yeah. Wow. I remember as a kid going to my aunt and uncle's farm in Iowa. We used to go there in the summertime a lot. I didn't live on a farm, but I had relatives that had farms. And I never lived in Iowa either, but we lived in Illinois and Nebraska. So we were always close to Iowa, and we would go there in the summertime. And my aunt and uncle, Aunt B and Uncle Pete, were a couple characters. And I used to go out with my Aunt B in the early morning before light even, and we would collect eggs in the hen house, and she would milk the cow.
Right.
And she gave me milk minutes out of the cow. And it was a very strange experience for me as a kid because it was warm, first of all, and I was used to drinking cold milk. So that took a little getting used to, but the flavor was unbelievable. It was this was untreated. This was pure rich, fatty milk coming out of the cow. It was quite an experience.
I know, right? So
and the eggs were amazing too.
I'm making a mess here, but you can
That's
see
right.
the idea.
Yep.
Because I'm going to eat it in front of you. This is
no wine.
Oh my God.
That would be good with a beer too.
The beer is already in there.
But what I was saying, the eggs were incredible too, because the yolks were so bright yellow. Her chickens just were absolutely free range. They just roamed around the farm. They ate bugs. They probably ate a fair amount of stones too, but they ate a lot of bugs and just.
Doesn't matter. They get rid of the stones.
Yeah, and she would throw grain out into the yard, of course, that they would eat that too. But they ate a lot of stuff off the ground. And they had incredible eggs, and she used to, fry me up eggs for breakfast, and I couldn't eat enough of them. They were so delicious, and they were nothing like what we would get from the supermarket. And occasionally, she would kill a chicken, and we'd have the chicken for dinner. And again, it was pretty great because it doesn't taste like the chickens I was used to eating from the supermarket. They had a pet goat they ended up eating. Is it a pet if you end up eating it? I don't know. Raw goat milk warm with chocolate and cinnamon. We have a goat at the racetrack. Oh, I'll bet that's really good. Add rum. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you go with rum. With rum, everything tastes good. Have you noticed that?
Very nice. I mean, those experiences were really seminal for me as a kid. We weren't.
I worked in the summer. We were in farms and we do some work in farms, and it was really cool. It's a really small ecosystem that everybody lives together, like everybody. The animals are in the middle everywhere. They go in the house. I mean,
yeah,
it's a really common community. Huh? It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, they had pigs, they had dogs and cats, of course, that just wandered around on their own. There was no, you never heard anyone say, don't let the dog out. It was usually more like, don't let the dog in, because dogs just live outside. The cats lived outside. They ate mice. They ate whatever they could catch. They were very happy. They were very fat, and they were.
The chicken live outside. The goat, there was 1 or 2 goats. You come in the house. Everybody lives around everybody. It's really weird, right? The chicken, the dogs running around everywhere. Everybody gets along.
Really but like you said, it was a little ecosystem, and it worked. I mean, it was probably a little different in Iowa than it was in rural France, but probably not that much.
I don't know why. Why a farm is a farm,
Yeah.
I noticed the farmer is a farmer. There's only one way to do. You get along with everybody. Everybody lives together, and I've seen that in the US. I've seen the same thing. I've seen, the house. Look at I can't remember his name, but he one of the chefs opened a farm, a small farm, and then there's a picture of him giving things to the chicken, and there's everybody around. There's the goat, the pig is right here. Everybody's like having. It's really, really cool.
And they all get along. The goats don't bother the chickens. The chickens don't bother, and we just vanished.
Me? No.
And they just don't pay any attention to each other. They get along just fine.
Right. Yeah.
One time we were there in the summertime, and my brother and I were supposed to be sleeping. I may have told you this story, but we were in bed, and we heard all this commotion in the farmyard below, and it was after dark, and they had these big floodlights on lighting up the farmyard. So my brother and I, we went over and we laid on the bed right next to the window, and we just sat there like this for about an hour watching. What they did, this guy had this little, essentially a guillotine that he would bring around to the farms, and then they would behead the chickens. And then the next day they'd be taken to market. They'd hang them up, and then they'd go to market. So they would, one by one, they would put the chicken in there, and it would, and they would let the chicken go, and it would run for about 15, 20 feet, just run like crazy all over the place. Yeah. And then eventually it would just collapse and fall down. And I've often thought that because of that experience, that anytime anyone has ever said that described someone as running around like a chicken with their head cut off, that I was sure I was the only one in the room that knew what that really looked like.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, I've seen that's crazy. Huh? Oh my God, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And that's the kind of stuff you see on a farm, especially in those days when I grew up. And it was a small family farm, so they definitely sold their produce, but they was also a subsistence farm. They always had a really nice garden. They had fresh eggs, they had meat, they had all that stuff from what they raised. They weren't really a dairy farm, but they had dairy cattle that they milked mostly for their own use. And they had a couple cows that were always like out front.
Yeah, exactly, right?
They just wandered around. They ate grass. They had horses. We used to ride horses. But it was really important for me. I didn't think of it at the time, but I know now that it really made me realize where my food comes from. And I think it was an important part of my childhood education, probably as much or more as anything I learned in school. I learned how canning, like my grandmother did, is a good way to get botulism. Yeah, my grandmother, I had lots of aunts. I'm not my grandmother, my aunts. I had lots of aunts that used to can stuff in the fall. And you'd go down into their cellars and they just had shelves full of all this stuff, canned, everything from tomatoes to applesauce to beets, all kinds of stuff. And no one ever got sick. I don't know.
Except for Kenneth.
Except for Kenny's grandmother. Maybe she didn't know how to do it.
She wanted to kill him.
But anyway, it was, and I've written about this, how it was just that idea that you know where your food comes from. And I grew up with people that had no idea where their food came from.
Well, so that's the thing right now. And this is, I mean, the only, if there's any positive thing that we can see about the COVID, is now people a little more, I believe, they're just more worried about where the food comes from, which is really good. That means we're going to see less of the globalization, which is another good thing. And hopefully we can see more farmers back to what they were doing, because really we need to buy locally, everything.
Right.
Like all.
Well, and even we're talking about knowing like who.
When you can, I'm sorry, when you can, because yes.
Right.
Sorry, yes, sometimes it's not possible. There's no, okay, right.
But I mean, even aside from knowing like where your food was raised and who produced it, there are people that don't even really understand what food is. They don't understand when they eat chicken McNuggets from the fast food place, and kids, they don't even in their mind, they don't even associate that with an animal. They don't realize that came from a living thing. Or, I've read, these children who think that, they say, well, where does pizza come from? And they say, well, it comes from the telephone. I met a guy recently. I talked to him at the bar. I guess it wasn't that recently. It was when we were still having people sit at the bar. He didn't really know that cheese was made from milk.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I almost couldn't believe him. I mean, he was this guy was like 40, 50 years old. How could you not know that?
One of my students, not to pick on my student, but I have to say something, as long as it's anonymous, right? One of my students didn't know what flour was. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't actually know. And so how oil is made, like where is oil come from? Like really, some people, they don't even know. So it's for us to make sure that the education is well done and we keep educating the people. It's really, really crucial.
Right. You made a pillowcase ham in the barn. What? I don't understand.
That's from this guy. I think it's a response from him.
So Kenny's comment is interesting, and he's right. You people, they think
he's right. Kenny's right.
Well, I'm going to assume he's right. We'll have to test this. Let's test it. We'll cook something for 2 hours, and then we'll cook it for 4 hours, and we'll see which one gives us botulism. But you're right. You do a little bit of cooking, and it just kills off some of the stuff, and the strong stuff survives. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how my aunties did it, but they used to can stuff, and we never got sick. And they didn't put it in the refrigerator; they kept it in a cellar, which was cool.
I thought botulism would go with the temperature.
I think it thrives more in certain temperatures.
But I thought that was the deal, that botulism is killed by temperature. Anyway.
Yeah, well, he's saying that you have to boil it for a very long time in order to kill off the botulism, whereas most people they don't cook it long enough. And I'm not sure. I've never been a canner myself, so like I said, I've got a lot of aunties that did. Mostly they make jam. They used to make a lot of jam. They'd have fruit trees, and they'd just make a ton of jam in the fall. But again, it didn't go in the refrigerator. It got put up in the cellar somewhere, and they would eat it throughout the winter. So they must have killed off the bat. I mean, I never knew anyone to die from eating that stuff. So,
but botulism exists. It does exist. It's very rare, but it does exist. So yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Kenny, did anyone ever die from eating your grandmother's canned food?
He's studying to be an inspector or something, so he knows. I'm assuming he knows this stuff. But yeah,
but that's interesting. I'm curious if anyone ever got sick. Who knows? I worked in a dairy for a while too, which was an interesting experience. Just working with milk and ice cream and being around this stuff. We had to go in and out of these giant walk-ins that, in the Nebraska summer, so it'd be like 95 degrees outside and 95% humidity. And we'd be going in and out of these lockers. I'm sure it's a good way to catch pneumonia, but it was interesting. And it was just massive amounts of milk and ice cream, and all came in from the farms in the country, and this was sort of the processing place and the distribution point. And to this day, I'll taste something, or I'll have something that will remind me it'll just remind me of that experience. It will smell like that dairy. And also dairies I've been to in my food travels in Europe and wherever. What does that mean? 152% should work. Not botulism, but we're talking 2 steps away from snake oil salesmen as doctors back then. Yeah.
So yeah, botulism is a problem. That's why it happens in garlic, that I know, in garlic and oil when it's left outside.
Right.
And it looks like it cannot be killed by heat. So yes, be careful there. So.
Yeah, there was a whole thing about that. People would make oil. They would drop garlic cloves in bottles of oil, and then put them up on the shelf to marinate, and then they would get sick because it just breeds all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like that happened a lot, and botulism was one of the culprits. So
yeah, we've never done that with garlic. We do it with herbs sometimes. We'll put herbs in olive oil and put it up, and then just use we don't leave it for any length of time. We just put herbs in the bottle, and then we use the oil.
So just put it in the fridge, because that will take care of botulism. The cold will. So one thing though is botulism will not evolve in the fridge. That's something I remember. But let me see, bacteria.
Any infusion, botulism party, interesting. Even herbs, even just herbal stuff.
No. That I don't agree with that. So this is the deal. What's happening here is you have to remember that when you put stuff like rosemary, horseradish, ginger, all this stuff, thyme, they have antibacterial and antiviral. So they are very, very strong. Black pepper, for example, there's no way that an infusion with black pepper and rosemary and stuff like that will be, maybe after days, leaving warm. It's all about leaving stuff outside warm. You have to be careful of that part. But if you put it in the fridge, you're safe. Okay, so you have to understand that. And you cook stuff and don't let it sit. You don't let it cook food outside. That's it.
But if you put oil in the fridge, it solidifies.
It's fine.
Yeah, but then you can't just like take it out and use it. You've got to wait till it comes back to. Vinegar is a different thing.
Yeah, it kills most of the bacteria, not all of them.
We do that. We put tarragon in a bottle of white wine vinegar.
Oh, that's for the béarnaise.
Yeah, right.
To make the béarnaise.
Exactly. Now that's not dangerous. If you put it in vinegar, it's gonna. Vinegar is fine, right?
There's nothing dangerous as long as you keep them at good temperature and they don't get hot and they don't sit outside for too long.
Right.
When there is food in whatever, any organic in food, it will go bad eventually. I mean, this is normal stuff.
Well, and we've talked about that too. You don't want to leave any of your oil in the sunlight.
Yes. That doesn't mean vinegar. Okay,
So
high acidity
before the
is not
oil
always
infusion.
vinegar, because vinegar is kind of 7. So it's weak. So it's not super acidic. It's good, but it's not super acidic. But it does take care of a lot of bacteria, though. Well, we did good today. Good timing. Eggs. You said you eat a lot of eggs. I do eat a lot of eggs, and my son eats a lot of eggs. And it's very important. Really good food.
Well, there was an article in the paper this week in the news feed that was talking about, I didn't read it. It said, how many eggs do you eat a week? And so later my wife asked me about it. And she said, do you think you eat more than 6 eggs a week? And I said, I don't know, maybe probably on average, I maybe eat 6, 8. I don't know. I don't necessarily eat them every day. And apparently that's what they were saying, is that you should only eat 6 eggs a week. Anything more than that is bad for me. And I thought,
why?
Who says?
Why do you have a number? What the, enough with the like this. How do they know? How would they know what's good for one and what's not good for it? I want to eat one week. I'm going to eat 20 eggs.
Right.
Okay, and then next week I forget to eat eggs. It doesn't matter. It's just eat whatever. Eat what is available. You guys are awesome. We knew that, Kenny. Thank you.
You're awesome too, Kenny.
Yeah, thank you.
So's that cat.
Kenny's been with us for a long time, and we should have him on the show one day.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything about that cat because it looked like it would just take my head right off. So I'm only going to say nice things about the cat. But
so
I don't eat anything every single day.
Do not 3 today with goat cheese. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. So eggs are fantastic, guys. There's no issues with cholesterol. I hope you're not thinking about the cholesterol thing. Please remove that from your brain, please. It has been completely removed and debunked, and you don't have to worry about anything about this. Please don't do that. Eat whatever feels good to you. Eat when you're hungry. Stop eating when you're not hungry. Really, like you have to follow your thing. And
I ate my eggs with feta. That's what I had in my eggs yesterday.
The cat.
That's why I wouldn't get along with the cow.
It will eat the cow.
It would eat the cow.
So
but
eggs,
not all at once.
However you feel, okay? Don't worry about the eggs. Please don't worry. If there's something you eat too much, your body will tell you. You're just gonna feel, it's gonna be weird. As long as there's nothing weird, no pimples all over the place, you have a normal weight and you feel good, you're good, right?
And again, buy good eggs.
Yeah.
Buy eggs that were
and don't
grown
burn the oil. You see how I cook them? That's where you need to eat them. You can eat a lot of those. The more you fry them, the less you can eat of them. Just remember that. The fried part is not the best part. It's okay, but it's not great.
So you only had that on the fire for about 15 seconds, and then you whisked it away and put it in the oven.
350, very low. 5 minutes, done. So now my yolk is not oxidized. I have not burned anything. It's all healthy. The oil is good, not damaged. Trust me, I can eat as many eggs as I want in this. If I fry them with hot oil and stuff, that's a different egg, which you can still eat, but much less. The damaged part is really a big issue. That's all. All right?
All right. Well, that's about it for today. Thank you for joining us. I hope everyone will try to make their own croque monsieur and croque madame.
Well, by the way, the recipes, those Facebook Live are available on Facebook all the time, but they're also on our YouTube. So if you go on Kitchen on Fire YouTube, Kitchen on Fire website, go on our YouTube. They are archived there, so you can look at them, whenever.
Really? I've always wanted to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm on YouTube?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're a YouTuber.
Just like Justin Bieber.
You're a YouTuber.
That's how Justin Bieber started. So I too could be a pop star.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, people.
See you next week.
Don't
be afraid of your kitchen.